and found that my ranking was matching up with national rankings from Mercatus Center out of George Mason University, U.S. News and World Report. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm just this little metric. It's almost the same as these big studies of 10 different items of those states. So I kind of kept it simple that way and did it for cities and for school districts. When I was a senator, I published it and said, here are the 482 cities. For the cities that didn't submit their annual comprehensive financial report, we sort of had to use prior year's numbers, but at least you kind of know where they are within the 482. And if you were near the top, great. Indian Wells was near the top. They even thanked me for the rankings in their annual report. But cities like
even in their report,
in their next report, it said Senator Moorlach ranked us near the top. But other cities, near the bottom, it's like, oh my goodness, Oakland, near the bottom. No wonder they can't afford a police department. No wonder public safety is kind of scary. No wonder when you return your rental car at Oakland Airport, the gas station keeps repeating, please monitor your vehicle at all times while you're here in the station. Because my son-in-law lives up in the Bay Area, went to the to 7-Eleven just for 5 minutes to get a sandwich to eat on a flight. And we came back, his window was out, his laptop was gone, and the 7-Eleven employees told him, don't even bother calling the cops. It's just, wow. So you can kind of see right away when you see the rankings, well, do I live in a financially sound city or do I live in a city that's made too many commitments either for pensions or for retiree medical, also known as other post-employment benefits, OPEBs. And did the unions ask for too much? Did the city councils give it to them? And where does everybody stand? And so it's like a thermometer. It's just something that would help a resident know, hey, is my city in trouble, or do I need to send flowers to my council members for being prudent and doing a good job financially?
Does the financial health of a city, does it reflect these things that you're mentioning, like crime and housing valuations and those type of things?
It does give an indication. One of the interesting things and what kind of motivated me is I had a reporter that called and said, hey, someone's claiming that this city is in poor shape. Is that hooey or is that legitimate? And I said, well, if you look at their unrestricted net position divided by population, this city is having some financial issues. It's got tight parameters. They're not flush. They don't have money to pay for things. So it's an indicator that you need to look at and say, okay, what needs to be done? One city here in Orange County, Newport Beach, decided many years ago to develop a financial plan that said, okay, we are going to take budget surpluses when we have them, and we're going to retire our debt that's owed, the unfunded actuarial accrued liability to the pension plans. We're going to take care of that debt and prepay it and get that debt down. So Newport Beach, when you look at the rankings we provided for the Epoch Times, every year they're moving up. Every year they're moving. So we even did an article to show,
because they're paying the debt and they don't actually have to pay interest.
Right. With 7% interest on an unfunded liability, that's pretty high. At least it was for the last 15 years. And so who's really being conscientious about their balance sheet and saying, hey, we've got to take care of these debts?
If a city is in a poor condition or is doing great financially in your rankings, does it show the current leadership or is it the previous leadership problem? Is it correlate to how well the city is run?
It's previous leadership, especially if they have term limits. So you have turnover. But it was people way before that made decisions. I'm a certified public accountant by background, and there are two reporting organizations that certified public accountants have to follow their guidelines. One is the Financial Accounting Standards Board, which applies to all the publicly traded corporations, all the corporations or companies around the country. And then there's the Government Accounting Standards Board. We call it GASB or GASB, and it tells governments how to do their financial statements. So an annual comprehensive financial report is not the same as the balance sheet you get from the company that you own
like
the stock of.
Yeah.
Right. They're a lot different. And so the Government Accounting Standards Board, not until 2017, 2015, required that these liabilities even be reported on the balance sheet. So a lot of this stuff 10 years ago was done by unions because the council members didn't really know what they were voting on. They didn't know it was creating a massive liability that had to be reported on their balance sheets. So that's why I did it when I was in the Senate, gave a list because it showed what was happening once these cities had to actually report what was really supposed to be on their balance sheets all along. For a school district, one of the largest in the nation, right up north of us, is the Los Angeles Unified School District, one of the largest school districts in the country. They had to add $15 billion of debt to their balance sheet. I mean, but that poor school district doesn't have 2 nickels to rub together per student, let alone what the cost is for every resident in that district. So it kind of tells you something, and so it's kind of fun. Some cities react and say, "Hey, this is great. We're doing well." Cities that weren't ranked very high would get really the leadership would kind of get mad because municipalities, government agencies, they don't like to be compared. They don't have competition. Right, but when you do a ranking, now all of a sudden you have a competition. Where do you stack up compared to others? And in some cities, I had Vacaville, real close to Sacramento. When they saw my report, they were so upset that they were ranked so poorly that they actually formed kind of a citizens finance group to say, okay, what can we do to improve our city's financial status, and how can we get people elected that understand math, that can address this situation and get us more into the middle of the pack.
Now, John, when you mentioned LAUSD owing $15 billion, are the residents on the hook in that district for it?
Yeah, this was for what we call lifetime medical benefits. And so an actuary has to calculate what the liability is, because they've been doing what's called pay-as-you-go. And so you have a body of teachers that now need help with their medical bills, and they're recent
that are retired
employees. And so it's a small group, but it's going to grow as all these teachers stay for their full career and then they retire. And so you have to be ready to pay for that anticipated liability for all these future retirees. And because of GASB, they didn't feel motivated to set money aside in a trust, to build it up for that day and, and invest it and enjoy the benefits of accrued interest. And so now here this big liability is popping
because
up.
Before they didn't have to show it, right? You
Right.
didn't see it anywhere.
Exactly.
And now, what about the cities and counties in California? How are they doing? Which ones are doing really bad? Which ones are doing really well?
Oh, you want me to name names? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, they can see it in the listings that we print in the Epic Times. But I mentioned Oakland. I because we have 482 cities, I've broken them up into Caltrans districts. And so Caltrans District number 4 is the Bay Area, and it has 101 cities. And Oakland is number 100 out of 101. Wow. So that city is in turmoil. They just recalled their mayor. There's just a lot of stuff going on, but it's legitimate. And so it kind of gives you an indication of something. What was really kind of funny is that the city of Portola Valley did not issue their financial statements. One of my big complaints, and I share with you every once in a while, is some of these cities just don't get their reports done. I've got one city in Northern California that's 5 years late.